Write I in terms of t, m, h, and g if t is equal to 2 pi multiplied by the square root of I over mgh. So in terms of t, m, h, and g just means that they're going to be in the answer. So we're not trying to solve for t or solve for m or solve for h or solve for g. We're basically trying to solve for I. We're trying to get I on its own. We're trying to rearrange this formula so the I is the subject of the formula. So this is how we're going to do it. The rule for equalities allows us to square both sides of an equality. We can use this to remove a square root. So we know we have a square root in our question. Recall that the square root of a squared is simply just going to give us a. The square root of anything squared will just give you back that number or that letter again. In this example, we should try get the square root on its own before squaring both sides. So we need to get rid of the 2 pi first of all. Since the 2 pi is stuck onto the root, and two things stuck together in maths mean multiply, if we want to get rid of it, we're going to have to divide by it. If we divide the right hand side by 2 pi, we must divide the left hand side by 2 pi. So we end up with t over 2 pi is equal to root I over mgh. So the 2 pi was stuck onto the root, and now it is the denominator of the t. So we divide it across by 2 pi. So now what we want to do is get rid of the square root, and if that comes over the equal sign, it becomes squared. So bringing the square root over the equal sign, it becomes squared. So it's going to be t over 2 pi squared is equal to I over mgh. And if we're squaring a fraction, we're squaring the numerator and the denominator. So we get t squared as our numerator and 4 pi squared as our denominator, because 2 squared is 4. And this is all equal to I over mgh. So just showing you where that came from. T over 2 pi squared is the same thing as t over 2 pi multiplied by t over 2 pi. T by t is t squared, top by top. And 2 pi by 2 pi is 4 pi squared, bottom by bottom. So that's where that came from there. So now I have I over mgh. So if I have something divided by mgh, I'm going to have to multiply by mgh to get it on its own. So if I want this I on its own, I'm going to have to multiply by mgh. And multiplying both sides by mgh will cancel this out, but it will also bring the mgh into the numerator, because multiplying t squared over 4 pi squared by mgh is the same thing as multiplying t squared over 4 pi squared by mgh over 1, because any term can be put over 1. So we're going to do top by top, bottom by bottom. T squared by mgh, we're just going to stick them all together. So that's where that comes from there. We just stick them all together. And 4 pi squared multiplied by 1, bottom by bottom, is just going to be 4 pi squared. So that's how we have 4 pi squared as our denominator there. And that is equal to I. And now we have the I on its own. So we have written I in terms of t, m, h, and g. Express a in terms of b and x if x equals a plus b over a minus b, where a cannot equal b and x cannot equal 1. Then calculate the value of a if x is equal to 2 and b is equal to 3. So this formula contains a twice. Thus we have to remove any fraction and brackets. Then we rearrange the terms to bring all those containing an a to one side and all those without an a to the other side. And finally, we take out a as a common factor and divide across. So we have x equals a plus b over a minus b. So we're going to start off by removing the fractions. So if I want to get rid of divided by a minus b, I have to multiply by a minus b. So multiplying the right by a minus b will cancel out the a minus b, but I must also multiply the left by a minus b. And x multiplied by a minus b is just going to be x times a minus b, and this is equal to a plus b. So I've gotten rid of the fractions. Alternatively, I could have made x to be x over 1 and cross multiplied. Would have worked the same. So next thing I want to do is remove the brackets. So I'm going to multiply out the brackets. X times a is xa, x times minus b is minus xb. And this is still equal to a plus b. So all I did there was I removed the brackets. Next, I'm going to rearrange the terms. So I have all the a's together on one side and anything without an a on the other side. So xa is on the left, so that just stays as it is. And I'm going to bring this a over the equal sign to become minus a. So I have xa minus xb minus a is equal to b. So all I did there was brought that a over the equal sign and it become minus a. So I now have xa on the left and minus a on the left, but I also have a minus xb on the left that I need to bring over to the other side. And carrying that minus xb over the other side, it becomes plus xb. So now I have xa on the left, minus a on the left, and b on the right, and xb on the right. So I have anything containing an a on the left, and anything without an a on the right, and that's what I want. Now all a terms are on the left-hand side, while the others are on the right-hand side. Next thing I'm going to do is take out a as a common factor, so I'm going to factorize. So if I notice I have a common to both of these, so I take it outside as my HCF, my highest common factor. A into xa leaves me with x. A into minus a is minus 1. So I have a times x minus 1 is equal to b plus xb. I haven't changed anything over here. Next thing I have to do is get rid of the x minus 1. So I'm going to divide across by x minus 1. Because I had a multiplied by x minus 1 and the opposite of multiply is divide. So dividing by x minus 1 would cancel that out. But if I divide by x minus 1 on the left, I must divide by x minus 1 on the right. So I end up with b plus xb over x minus 1. So a is equal to this, and a is on its own, which is what I wanted. Now I have to calculate a if x is equal to 2 and b is equal to 3. So I'm going to swap that b for a 3. I'm going to swap that x for a 2. I'm going to swap that b for a 3. And swap that x for a 2. And remember always to use brackets. Put brackets in place of the letter and then put inside the brackets whatever the number is equal to. So I have 3 plus 2 times 3, which is going to be 3 plus 6, which is going to be 9 from a numerator. And 2 minus 1 is 1, so it'll be 9 over 1, which is just going to be 9.